KHOU 11 confirming the owner of Trump Burger Restaurants, which has several locations in the Houston area, has been arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement and now faces deportation.
According to ICE, 28-year-old Roland Beainy came to the U.S. from Lebanon in 2019 on a visitor visa, but failed to leave by his February 2024 deadline.
Well, we have yet another story that forces me to contend with the possibility that nothing is real and we're all just stuck inside some sort of simulation, or we're in hell, or we're in some cruel science experiment being conducted by an advanced extraterrestrial species that's trying to test how much stupidity the human brain can be exposed to before it explodes. I don't know, but regardless, this story about a conservative owner of a Trump chain of restaurants getting detained and potentially deported, it seems too much even by fictional standards. Like, this should be an Onion headline, not a real headline. Like, what is happening? I'm exhausted. Now, expectedly, this individual is extremely pissed off that his life could be ruined by the administration that he, ironically, has made a career out of glorifying. And he broke his silence after news of his arrest went viral to say that the things that ICE is saying about him, it's completely false. So they're claiming that he gamed the immigration system by seeking residency through a sham marriage, but he denied these allegations, telling a local Texas outlet, quote, 90% of the shit they're saying is not true. Now, seeing as how ICE has zero credibility whatsoever, I wouldn't be surprised if he was telling the truth, because, this agency has claimed that individuals were affiliated with gangs based on their tattoos. Those were lies. They've claimed that individuals had criminal records when those were also lies. They were just trying to meet their quota. So if somebody says that this agency is not telling the truth, I'm inclined to believe them over this agency, since this is, for all intents and purposes, a modern-day Gestapo that we're talking about here. But I think that, even if he is telling the truth, unfortunately, that's not going to save him, because this is what Trump said he was going to do. And it's gross. Like, the idea that he could be deported for doing nothing wrong despite supporting Trump, but that's not a crime. But the idea that he could be deported is just sad, And I think that he thought that he would immunize himself from Trump's deportation Gestapo by ingratiating himself with Trump and his cult by being overly sycophantic. But if anything, that's not going to save you. And Trump's just going to be more pissed off that you're the one profiting off of his name while he isn't. Now, they changed the name to MAGA Burger. I'm not sure if this happened before or after he was arrested in May. So perhaps that could be a sign that he's feeling some frustration with the individual who he supported. I'm not really sure. But I think this just goes to show you that nobody is safe. And to show you how loyal this man is to Donald Trump, hopefully was loyal to Donald Trump, I just want to play a quick review from a YouTube foodie who reviewed the restaurant. And even though he said that the burgers were underwhelming, he was overwhelmed by all of the pro-Trump memorabilia in this restaurant. Like, it was embarrassing. Nonetheless, here's the review.
I was going to Austin, Texas, and I saw this place, and I had to stop in. Look inside, guys. This is insane. I've never seen a restaurant that looks like this. They also have a Biden burger for $51. Like, inflation. It says, like, old buns, old tomatoes. What the heck? Starting off for $13, we got the Trump burger printed on the buns. It's terrible. Nothing against Trump, but this burger sucks, okay? This burger is absolutely horrible. It tastes strange, really funky. Like, it's a pretty big burger, but it just, try their fries. Those are all right, but they just don't have, like, any salt on them. Taste-wise, I'm going, like, a 3 out of 10.
So the burgers may be dog shit, but you can't deny the dedication. Yet the man who created that abomination could be deported by the man he idolizes. It's deeply ironic, but it's also incredibly cruel, and I don't derive any schadenfreude from his potential deportation, because at this point, it's just sad. Like, I feel exhausted more than anything. I feel so frustrated that the people feigning shock at all of the terrible things that Trump is doing are just shocked by this. Like, how do you be shocked when he ran on mass deportation and that was his signature campaign promise? How can you be surprised that this is what's happening when Trump broadcasted his intent to do all of this. But I mean, this guy isn't alone, because other individuals are also feigning shock at the things that they're seeing from this administration. For example, Florida Republican State Senator Ileana Garcia, who actually co-founded Latinas for Trump, rebuked him on Twitter for his cruelty, saying, "This is not what we voted for." And another man echoed that same sentiment after his wife was detained by ICE. She's a Canadian who was brought to America at a young age, yet she was one of the first to be targeted in his mass deportation scheme. And when a local ABC News affiliate asked him about his feelings towards Trump after Trump detained his wife, he said this.
You voted for Trump. How do you feel now?
Horrible. Horrible.
What did you vote for?
I voted for change, but I didn't vote for this change.
And, like her husband, she too supported President Trump's promise to launch the largest deportation program of criminals in American history.
My wife is a very, well, up until 18 days ago, was a strong believer in what was going to happen the next 4 years. But we feel totally blindsided, betrayed.
I feel deeply sad for her. This is a mother of 3 that we're talking about here, and she doesn't deserve to be treated this way. Nobody does. With that being said, though, this is what she wanted for a lot of other people. She supported Trump's mass deportation scheme. So fuck her for that. But also, I feel sad for her because nobody deserves this. But this is what mass deportation looks like. I don't know what the fuck she expected. I don't know what any of these people expected. Gross violations of human rights, warrantless arrests, no due process. This is mass deportation. This is what Donald Trump said he was going to do. Like, if a candidate says, "I'm going to kill puppies," you can't be surprised when he kills puppies and then say, "Oh my God, this isn't what I voted for." It is, though. It's literally what you voted for, even if you knew that or not. Wittingly or unwittingly, you voted for this. You are responsible, in part, for the predicament that we're in. And you don't deserve to deal with what you're dealing with, nonetheless. Like, there has to be at least, if not culpability here, like a recognition that as individuals, we have to try to do better. But so many people could not care less. They don't give a fuck about anyone else so long as they think that they and their loved ones are going to be immune from the cruelty that they're voting for. And part of the problem, aside from, a complete lack of empathy, is that so many people project what they think Trump's policies are going to be onto him. For example, an American business owner with immigrant employees, he actually teared up when talking to news agencies after his workforce was detained by ICE. And again, I've got to ask, what did you expect? Nonetheless, here's his story.
You voted for Donald Trump?
Yes, I did.
6 Nicaraguan men on May 27th were detained along US 1 in Sugarloaf Key on their way to a job. Vincent Scardina is the owner of the roofing company where they worked. Given his support for the president, we asked what he would tell the commander-in-chief.
What happened here? This situation is just blatantly not at all what they said it was.
While he agrees with most of the president's policies, he thought the Trump administration was going to focus solely on deporting criminals. It seems immigration officials, he says, are just trying to meet quotas now.
Buyer's remorse? I don't know. A little bit. I know of one landscaper that lost 9 or 10 of the whole crew he had, and he's just totally out of business all of a sudden.
It's pretty obvious, I would say, that the reason why they were pulled over is because they're Latino men.
Their immigration attorney says it should not have happened because 5 of the 6 have their paperwork in order with pending asylum cases.
Valid work permit, not even close to be expired. And no criminal record, not here, not in Nicaragua.
Losing these 6 men is losing a third of his workers.
We're not able in Key West to just replace people as easily as, say, a big city. It's financially as well as emotionally. It takes a toll. You get to know these guys. You become their friends, just not an employer, but a friend. And you see what happens to their family. It's quite a shock.
Yeah, that's what you voted for. And I think that the coworker that they interviewed, Virgil Cardena, put it best in saying that they were pulled over because they're Latino men. Exactly. This is what mass deportation looks like. There's going to be racial profiling if the goal is mass deportation. There's going to be lives that are destroyed, families that are broken apart in mass deportation. It's frustrating. And it's not just like immigrants. I need people to understand that. So many citizens have been detained and even deported by ICE. Notoriously, there's the children who were citizens. One of them had cancer, by the way. We talked about this before on the channel, who were deported with their mothers. There's also an American man who was deported to Haiti despite being an American citizen. And then there were the immigrants who were sent to a concentration camp in El Salvador where they were tortured, starved, and even raped. In fact, in an interview with The Bulwark, Andrew Hernandez Romero, who is the gay makeup artist who was sent to Sakat, explained what happened to him in this gut-wrenching interview. And he says, yes, he was sexually assaulted by the guards. And I'll link to that down below if you want to watch it. It is just so hard to listen to. But even though none of us really expected Trump to send immigrants to foreign concentration camps, he was very clear about the things that he planned to do on the campaign trail. Mass deportation is, that's a promise he made. Like, he ran on that. They had signs of mass deportation at the RNC. He talked about denaturalization. He talked about taking away status from legal immigrants. He even accused legal immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, of eating cats and dogs. So this idea that he was only going to go after criminals was never the case. Sure, they said that they would prioritize criminals first, but you're not going to be able to accomplish mass deportation by focusing only on criminals, because statistically, immigrants, both documented and undocumented, are far less likely to commit crimes. That is compared to average citizens. So mass deportation was never ever going to be just about criminals. It was always about all immigrants. They wanted to get the black and brown people out of this country, and they would deport citizens if they could. Perhaps they still will, because Trump talked about homegrowns. But yet so many people, they refuse to take Trump at his word, and I can never not find that so frustrating. And, you know, I can't necessarily blame them for not paying attention, because even seasoned political commentators who've been doing this for decades, like Anna Kasparian, for example, she recently said that she was surprised by Trump's harsh immigration tactics, and she said that she supported what he said he was going to do on the campaign trail, but this isn't something that he said he was going to do, according to her, which is bullshit. But nonetheless, like, here's a quick clip that they put out on her conservative Her Take channel.
I supported what Trump claimed he was going to do with immigration when he was campaigning. But what we have seen is violations of people's human rights, heavy-handed ICE raids. Talk about denaturalizing citizens who have done everything the right way, but they have political views that the Trump administration doesn't like. I don't trust the Trump administration on this. And when they claim like they're all criminals, I'm not going to take their word for it. I want to see some transparency here. If they show us who these individuals are, what kind of crimes they were committed of, I'll totally co-sign onto a policy that focuses on those individuals. But when I see people get snatched up at their court hearings when they're following the law, that's a problem.
Is that 100% accurate?
Yes, it is.
Again, they were literally holding up mass deportation signs at the fucking RNC. What more evidence did you need that this is what was going to happen? I mean, thank you for condemning it now, but how are you surprised? She also downplayed, by the way, Project 2025, and she argued with Cenk about whether or not Trump was a fascist. And of course, you know, she said no, he said yes. But the point is that if people who should know better, like her, assuming she's not lying, don't know better, then how the fuck are we supposed to expect regular people to know better? Even though Trump was crystal clear about what the fuck he wanted to do before the election, he couldn't have been more clear if he tried. It's just, people live in completely different realities based on the media that they consume, and that's really alarming, because you can think that reality is different than what it is if you're in a particular echo chamber or bubble. And I think that in part creates situations like this where people get blindsided by something Trump said he was going to do that the rest of us who were paying attention expected. Their ignorance and or stupidity aside, though, again, nobody should have to suffer because of what's happening right now. Like, nobody should be subject to these human rights abuses. Even the worst hardened criminals, people who are actual criminals, deserve their constitutional rights. Habeas corpus, due process, civil liberties and civil rights are enshrined in the Constitution for a very good reason. And look, I probably disagree with this owner of the Trump Burger restaurant on every single issue, but I don't think that he deserves to be deported. His life shouldn't be destroyed. Nobody's life should be destroyed. For what? To appease an old white supremacist in cognitive decline? That's fucking stupid. If you're living here and paying taxes and contributing to your community, you deserve a timely pathway to citizenship. And until we collectively agree to stop scapegoating immigrants for all of our problems and recognize that the real enemy are the billionaire parasites, nothing in this country will ever get better. Because in 5-10 years, when you forget what we witness now, there's going to be a different politician to come along and just do the same thing again. Until we actually develop class consciousness and acknowledge that immigrants are in the same boat as us, then nothing else matters. We need class solidarity. Otherwise, we're going to continue to get fucked over by the elites. But every time you support a politician who runs on xenophobia or mass deportation, understand you are unwittingly doing the bidding of the billionaires who want you to fight with the people who you should be aligned with to take them on.